Yo, what's going on, guys? It's your guy Rudy SKC, and welcome to a brand new video. Another day, another Pistons win, and today they were able to bounce back and beat the Toronto Raptors 123-114 after suffering one of the more emotional losses of the season, in my opinion, against the Golden State Warriors at LCA a couple days ago. I think the important thing before we really get into the game here is to first address the team they were facing today, the Toronto Raptors. So obviously we know that Toronto is not a good team this year, right? They have an atrocious record. They're actively tanking for a draft pick, right? They're essentially in the tank for Cooper Flag game with the Nets, maybe even the 76ers, the Hornets, teams of that nature. But to me, the important thing about the Toronto Raptors is they more, for me, resemble last year's Detroit Pistons. They're a team that has guys that are actually trying. This is not the Nets team that, like, the Pistons played a few games ago where they're just going to roll over on their belly and let you beat them. This is a team that's actively trying to win games, all right? They got real NBA players on the team. They got Grady Dick. They got Scotty Barnes. They have Emmanuel Quickly, who's capable of going off. In this game, he had 25 points. He's capable of going off any given night with his three-point shot. We know the kind of two-way player that Scotty Barnes is. And there's a great matchup between him and Cade today. It was a battle of who should have been Rookie of the Year from the 2021 draft class. And they're also high school teammates as well. So, they're friends. They know each other's moves a little bit. So that was fun to see. You saw there times where Cade got Scotty, other times where Scotty got Cade. So that was, in my opinion, a really fun battle to watch. And then obviously you have Grady Dick, who they drafted last year and who's been an absolute sniper from three. So to me, this is... not even to mention, they have Chris Boucher off the bench, who today in the first quarter was looking like prime Chris Bosh on the Raptors. So to me, the Toronto Raptors, yes, they're a terrible team, but to me, they're more of a team that A, does not have their coach yet, like I think the Pistons do with JB Bickerstaff, and B, they have not figured out how to win. And I think maybe part of it is they don't necessarily have that 1A star scorer like the Pistons do yet. Like Cade Cunningham. The Raptors don't have... Scotty Barnes is a great player, right? Emmanuel Quickly is a great player, but can they really be the best player on a playoff team? And to me, that's the question that it's not answered yet. Even when Cade the last few years, maybe he wasn't that player, but you saw the potential to become that player eventually. And he's taken that leap this year. To me, I don't know if we could see that definitively with either Scotty Barnes or Emmanuel Quickly. So that's something maybe the Raptors, they either have to address that with hopefully, if they could draft Cooper Flag this year, one of the other top prospects, or they have to go and address and get some kind of veteran in free agency, maybe Devin Booker or someone else if they want to put themselves in playoff contention. But keeping it in context here, their young team who has not figured out how to win yet. So you can see they're in a lot of close games, right? They're in an extremely close game with the Cavs, who have one of the best records in maybe NBA history through the amount of games that they've played so far. So they've shown an ability to be able to hang with some of the better teams. And today was the exact same thing with the Pistons. And okay, if you're getting my honest opinion, the Pistons did not play their best game by any stretch of the imagination. They did not play their best game. With that being said, though, I think you have to credit the Raptors at least a little bit and their way to stay gritty on the defensive side of the ball, and B, also generate open shots for them on the offensive side of the ball. They've been doing a good job of that, not just this game, but the last few games. So to me, as we go through this review on the Pistons side, I want to be considerate that, yes, the team that we beat today, we should not have been in a close game with them. I 100% agree with that. But at the same time, you're also playing a gritty team who has young players who are desperate to learn how to win. So that's just the context that I think we need to establish there. But if you look at the start of this game, the way the game started, I thought it was going to be a blowout and the Pistons were going to be able to pull away in the second half. There are obviously a couple holes in the first quarter, in my opinion, on the defensive side of the ball. I don't know if it was maybe, you played the Warriors last game, you were super confused with the split action or what, but the rotations on defense were just terrible today, especially off the pick and roll, and it came down to the perimeter defenders between, whether it was Cade, Tim Hardaway Jr., or Asar Thompson, and I'm talking with the first unit. Asar, he was good today. Obviously there's some flashes of the player that we know that he can be at times. But for me, on the defensive side of the ball, I would have liked to see him been slightly more aggressive, that like he has been in previous games. And then on the offensive side of the ball, this is something I want to mention because I actually been noticing this quite a lot the last few games. I feel like he slips way too much when he's going towards the rim, or when he's trying to get the ball through traffic, the ball slips and he has some kind of turnovers. And if he wants to be the secondary ball creator when you have Cade, when Cade goes to the bench, I think that's something that he's going to have to clean up, because that's something that we hadn't seen previously. Even in his rookie year, that was not something he was dealing with. So again, maybe you could chalk it up to rust, but I've been noticing the last few games where these kind of situations happen, where he's falling down, and that's generating turnovers for the other team. My opinion, that was one of the reasons that after Cade Cunningham went down, the Pistons offense, by the way, we need to talk about that too, but the Pistons offense could not generate good shots, okay? They could not generate good shots, and they kept turning the ball over. They had 5 turnovers in the first quarter. So to me, if you want to be successful as a team, when Cade Cunningham goes to the bench and you don't have Jaden Ivey, you need to find some kind of you have to find some kind of playmaker, some kind of primary ball handler. It cannot be Malik Beasley, okay? Even Marcus Sasser, yes, he's a point guard, but to me, he's not shown the capability to be a primary playmaker. He's a guy who can go out there and get his own shot. But as a primary playmaker, someone who can generate shots not only for themselves, but also other guys, even not at an elite level like Cade, even at a decent level. I think that's something, maybe, hey, the Pistons might go out and that's who they need to make a trade for, right? That's something you see. But to me, that's something that does need to be addressed. And if it can be Asar, right? Because I think Asar can do it. Those turnovers where, he's going to the rim, he slips, he falls down, those have to be eliminated. So that's a little piece on Asar. Tim Hardaway Jr. tonight, man, you see why we missed him last game. He had 27 points, 7 of 8 from the 3-point line. When you're comparing the levels of shooters on the Pistons, right? Obviously, Malik Beasley this year has been super consistent. And there's been a lot of criticism, in my opinion, for Tim Hardaway in terms of how he's been shooting the ball. And to me, a lot of that is just taken for granted in terms of Tim Hardaway. Because when Hardaway is in the game, he commands a ton of defensive attention. And if he's open more often than not, the ball goes in from 3. Now, yes, he has his off games. Yes, he has more off games than Malik Beasley. But to me, you see the comparison when you have Tim Hardaway Jr. and a Simone Fontecchio. And it's not taking anything away from Fontecchio as a shooter, right? But for one thing, he does not have Tim Hardaway's skills off the dribble, right? Please, Simone, stop dribbling the ball. It's really hurting the Pistons. Every time it happens, he has to have one of the worst shooting percentages at the rim this season. I know he has potential there, and I know we saw a little bit of it last season. But the Simone you're seeing this year is not even remotely close to the Simone we saw at the end of last year. And to me, he's just got to focus on being a primary shooter for the Pistons. Hardaway and Beasley, I'm okay with them, pump faking off the 3, getting their defender to go. And then if they have a go at the rim, they've been shown to consistently be able to hit, whether it's that runner, that floater, even if it's a 15-foot pull-up, or hit the open guy on a rotation. And to me, Simone has not shown that yet. And that's why I think, Tim Hardaway is so important for this team. It's really important to have that second wing shooter outside of Malik Beasley that can come in and, he's won us 3 or 4 games this year single-handedly. So I think as Pistons fans, we really need to recognize the value of Tim Hardaway to this team, right? Because I don't know if we're going to keep Hardaway or not, but it shows you the type of player that we need to keep for Cade, whether we need to attack it at the trade deadline or whether we have to do it at free agency. So that's a quick piece on Tim Hardaway that I wanted to talk about. Tobias had 17 points tonight. I thought he had one of his better games of the year. And the main reason for that is his decision making. To me, over the course of the year, yes, Tobias has not shot the ball well. And today, he was 2 for 5 from 3. Yeah, that's 40%. But, in a sample size of 5 shots, that's okay. Okay, it's not great. But for Tobias, I think the biggest issue this year has been once he gets the ball, how long it takes him to make a decision of what to do, right? Am I going straight for the post up, right? Am I going straight for the post up? Am I passing it to someone? Am I going for a drive here? And I think a lot of times this year so far, he's gotten the ball in a post situation and he wastes too much time thinking about what to do when he gets the ball. You've seen this, the more successful offensive teams, even the Warriors, right? That was their big development piece with Jordan Poole when he was coming out of the G League. How do you stop him from holding on to the ball so much so he can generate better offense? Because you want to be able to keep the defense on its toes. You don't want to give them a rest, some time to recuperate on defense. You want the ball to be swinging a lot more than it has been. And to me, that's something that Tobias, whatever he did today, that needs to continue. Because to me today, Tobias's game was efficient. So shout out to Tobias. That's something that hopefully we can look forward to. Another thing I wanted to talk about before I kind of get into the game flow a little bit more was Ron Holland. He took 5 shots today, and 4 of them were 3-pointers. Okay? Ron Holland, he's been great this year in my opinion. He has a lot of potential as a rookie. But right now, his strengths are at slashing, playing defense, and being athletic, being an athletic body in the dunker spot, right? For Ron Holland to essentially play the role of a 3-and-D guy, I don't think he's there yet. Last game, yeah, sure, he shot 3 of 5 from 3, but he's not consistent there yet. And in my opinion, I don't want him to get in the mindset of settling there. Because his strength as a finisher at the rim. He has one of the softest touches on the team, in my opinion. So I think for Ron, that's something the coaching staff maybe needs to encourage. Because it's been a very recent thing. We've seen this over the last 2 or 3 games. And, if they're encouraging him to take more threes, maybe it's Fred Vinson, so be it. But from an outside perspective, I think that it not only suits the team better, but it's also better for Ron's development in the long term that he doesn't quickly just resort to taking these threes. I mean, if you want to go back a couple years, you saw what happened with Saddiq Bey, right? What's Saddiq Bey's natural game? Saddiq Bey's natural game was being a 3-point sniper, right? Generating open, getting maybe not necessarily coming off screens, but getting the ball with open looks, even in contested looks, getting a 3-ball off and making them. And he was doing it at a super high percentage. But then the coaching staff, they started pushing him, hey, take this more in isolation. Generate some isolation looks for Saddiq. And if you look at that, that's when, in my opinion, Saddiq's development actually took a really big hit. And he went from being, what we would have needed this year in terms of a wing who's a 3-point shooter, right? If he was in the same role as Simone Fontecchio, the Saddiq that we saw from his rookie season, you might be seeing different results for the team being even better. So to me, that was something you saw when the coaching staff pushed Saddiq to deviate from his natural game. It hurt his development. And I want to make sure that a similar thing doesn't happen with Ron Holland, where we're forcing him to deviate from his natural game. So yeah, that's something on Ron Holland. Just going forward, we would ideally like him to get more shots up at the rim. So yeah, guys, let's talk about it. Let's talk about the main event today. Cade Cunningham. He continues to show his ascension into superstardom in the NBA. He had today 22 points, 17 assists, and 10 rebounds. And it should have been really 11 rebounds because I'm pretty sure the NBA didn't count one of his rebounds right in the 4th quarter, but I'll leave that there. He had a triple-double tonight. Only 2 players in the NBA have more triple-doubles than Cade Cunningham. That's Nikola Jokic and LeBron James. Cade Cunningham has arrived, guys. And, if you want to talk about it, I don't think Cade played his best game, from the 1st to the 3rd quarter, especially in terms of playmaking because of the turnovers, right? You see, he had 8 turnovers in this game, and a lot of them were careless turnovers. This is the Cade that we saw in the beginning of the season, not the Cade we've seen over the last month and a half, actually. To me, Cade Cunningham, in that 4th quarter, played the role that LeBron James, Steph Curry, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, all the greats in NBA history, you think of any of them, what do they do? In the 4th quarter, they often come in with 8 minutes, 9 minutes left. Maybe they even play the whole quarter in a close game. But when the team is reeling and you need some guy to come and completely change the momentum, they're able to do that. And that's what you saw from Cade. It was a Herculean effort, in my opinion. And you're going to look at the stats and you're going to be like, what are you talking about, dude? He only had 5 points in the fourth quarter, but he had 5 points, 4 assists, and a few rebounds. And it was really the way he changed the way the offense was playing. Immediately when he came into the game, he was able to get beef stew for a couple easy layups. And that made it from being a close 4-point game to being a 7-8 point game. That's a difference between 2 possessions to 3 to 4 possessions. And to me, that was really what elevated the Pistons to win. He hit a quick 3. Raptors had to call a timeout. Toronto, they put Scotty Barnes on him, and that was a really good battle, in my opinion. But in the fourth quarter, Cade was getting whatever he wanted. He was getting to the rim at will. If he really, really wanted to, he could have probably dropped more points, right? But he was getting easy looks for his teammates. And if you look at this, 17 assists is ridiculous, guys. That's not normal. It's crazy. We have not seen production like this as Pistons fans since Grant Hill, since Isaiah Thomas. And I wasn't even alive to see those guys play. I haven't seen this in my tenure as a Pistons fan since what, like 2013, 2014? I haven't seen a guy, maybe what, like one season of Brandon Jennings where, like, you know, before he got injured against, I think it was a Magic. Maybe that first year with Reggie Jackson, but that was mainly just pick and roll with him and Drummond. That was leading to that. Cade's playmaking ability is amazing. It's incredible. And to me, that superstardom effect is taking effect in the NBA. You can see it league-wide. You can see NBA, they're promoting Cade. The Pistons are winning games. You see posts for Cade. Man, Cade Cunningham, what a highlight play that maybe last year they would not have cared about. They would not have posted it. The Cade agenda, it's rising, guys. So to me, that's just something that as a Pistons fan, I'm so happy to see. And it's really, in my opinion, disappointing to see the All-Star return so far. And I actually wanted to touch on this, right? Cade Cunningham is currently 7th in terms of backcourt voting in the NBA Eastern Conference. 7th. He's averaging 24 points, 9 rebounds, 24 points, 9.5 assists, 6 or 7 rebounds a game, and he's leading a Pistons team who was expected to underperform this year comparatively to what they've been doing so far. A rising Pistons team. And they're currently in the 8th seed in the Eastern Conference. And he's 7th among guards in the Eastern Conference. I just want to go through a couple of guys. Tyrese Maxey. Yeah, he's averaging 1 more point per game. The Philadelphia 76ers are terrible this year. They're tanking. Empty stats, okay? Jalen Brunson. I guess that's understandable, right? That's team success. But again, he has Karl Anthony Towns. He's not the alpha scorer of the team, right? He's kind of maybe I don't know if he's a 1A, 1B guy. It really depends on the night. But to me, he's more of the 1B in New York right now. So he has a lot of help there, right? Damian Lillard, again, same thing as Jalen Brunson. That's understandable, but he's also playing second fiddle to Giannis. He's not carrying as much offensive load as Cade, and he's not performing as that much better than expected at the beginning of the year, okay? So I can understand Jalen Brunson. I can understand Damian Lillard. I can even understand Donovan Mitchell, right? He's not putting up the gaudy stats, but Cavs have one of the best records in the NBA. But here's where I think it gets a little ridiculous, right? So I mentioned Tyrese Maxey. Trae Young, the team is underperforming. He's shooting 40% from the field. That's atrocious field goal percentage. And yeah, he's averaging a couple more assists than Cade. But really, if we're looking at the Hawks, this was not the expectation for them this year. They're in the same realm. They're a little worse than the Pistons right now. They were just competing with the Knicks in the playoffs a few years ago. They're on a downward trajectory right now. And in my opinion, a team performance based on what the NBA values, it's huge for all-star voting. So Trae Young should not be ahead of Cade Cunningham. LaMelo Ball, the Hornets have 8 wins. He should not be ahead of Cade Cunningham. Cade Cunningham should be at worst the fourth most voted player in the Eastern Conference in terms of backcourt. And the fact that he's 7th right now is just ridiculous. And hopefully the NBA pushing his agenda, and this is just fan voting, obviously, as what we've seen, he'll still get in the All-Star game. But guys, if Cade is not an all-star this year, it's a full Detroit versus everybody the rest of the year. And I'm not joking about that. And, as much as I want to see Cade in the all-star game, if that happens, in my opinion, you're going to see a new fire under the Pistons, under Cade, that you've never seen before. And hey, maybe that's exciting too. But anyways, that was the recap today. The Pistons beat a bad Toronto Raptors team in a pretty close game, 123-114. We'll be back Monday for a game recap versus the Knicks, I believe. And until then, we'll see you guys later. Peace.